Travels in Calradia, an account of my journeys through the outer kingdoms and their hazards and lesser marvels, for the edification of wanderers whose purse does not match their curiosity. By Asios, son of Valikos, scribe of Vostrum. Introduction. This is the journal of Asios, son of Valikos, scribe of Vostrum. I am keeping it because, for the first time in my 22 years, I am on the verge of doing something that might interest a reader. For the last 2 years, nearly every day has been the same. I go early in the morning to the fountain near the law courts here in Vostrum, buy some dried figs, salted bread, and oil for my breakfast, and set out my little table on the marble steps. For the next 8 hours, until sundown, I help illiterate farmers and workmen draw up their legal petitions, charging 2 dinars a page. After the sun sets, I go over to the tavern and buy a bowl of stew and a jug of watered-down wine, and drink with my fellow scribes. Then climb the stairs to the room where I pay a half-dinar a night to lay out my bedroll. 9 out of every 10 petitions I draft are inheritance disputes. If you like, I can draw you a map from memory of a half-dozen villages around here that I have never seen, and label every irrigation ditch, oak tree, and rocky outcrop that is used as a landmark to describe the division of fields. Very often such disputes pit brother against brother, and I suppose that is why, a decade ago, my father decided that our family's entire farm in Amikon village would eventually be inherited by my older brother, Valikos, son of Valikos. My significantly less valuable share of the inheritance, given in advance, was my education. That got me work as a marketplace scribe, which is hardly how I dreamed of spending my youth. But I make slightly more than I spend, and perhaps one day I can fulfill my parents' dream of returning to Amikon and taking a wife. I did do one somewhat unusual thing about a year ago. This was the beginning of my stay in Vostrum, before the Emperor Arenikos died. On the recommendation of a fellow scribe, I wrote an informant's report for the Bureau of Barbarian Affairs. Many have heard of this organization, but have only a vague idea of what it did. The Bureau was originally established to monitor the tribes and kingdoms on our borders, their military strength, their lead-in personalities, their internal rivalries, in a way that would allow the empire to keep them divided and subjugated. But the Bureau proved so good at its job that they were tasked with keeping an eye on the empire's internal politics as well. They had informants across the empire, merchants, scribes, wanderers, noblemen's tutors, anyone with the ability to notice things and the desire to make a few dinars on the side, who they commissioned to write reports. My friend recommended me to the Bureau as someone who spoke to a lot of farmers. At the time, the General Garios was going about the west of the empire, loudly demanding that state land be distributed to his veterans. And the Bureau wanted to know how his demands might be received around Vostrum. I wrote up a brief summary of what my clients told me, saying that few farmers had heard of Garios, and those who had, though they certainly would not turn down their nose at state land, seemed suspicious of his ambitions. But really, I could not tell how they would react to him if they learned more. For this, I received a fee of 100 dinars and a response from one Istiana, apparently some sort of high official in the Bureau, who thanked me for my honesty. Many correspondents, she said, would talk only to their family's tenants and report back that all the peasants were happy and grateful to the emperor for all his blessings. Or worse, they would invent plots and rumors and impending revolts in the hope that this would get them more assignments. She said she was glad that my report was a bit muddled. This meant I was truthful, and she might commission more reports from me in the future. But 2 months after that, Arenikos died, and the empire fragmented, and I assumed that my hopes of a side career in intelligence work had been shattered along with it. So I was surprised when, a week ago, a peddler stumbled into the tavern one evening, sat down next to me, ordered a drink, then nonchalantly passed me a scroll sealed with the Bureau's emblem, a shepherd's staff and sling. It was from Istiana. She apologized that she had not contacted me in the last year, as the Bureau had indeed ceased its normal operations, with its officials all going off to find work with one faction or the other. But she needed, for the sake of the public interest, to revive her network of informants, both in the Empire and in the Outer Kingdoms, and thus she needed an agent to go and visit them and check up on their circumstances. Should I accept this work, she wrote, I should travel first to Hassan Folk, in the Asarai Sultanate, to visit one Yathib, son of Bisr, a charcoal burner, who would await me in the inn of the Brass Key. In each town she would leave a purse of 100 dinars and instructions on where to go next. I intend to accept. I really have very little idea of her intentions, whether she backs Garios or Ragaya or Lukon or has her own schemes. But I suppose I feel that someone who likes me and who commends me on my honesty and who values my work at 100 dinars a report cannot be too evil. Travel is dangerous, but she assured me that she thinks I will be able to pass safely from realm to realm, because I am good at being overlooked. I suppose I should put that skill to use. I shall keep this journal with me. It's a dangerous thing for a spy to have, but when I go back to my safe life, hopefully a richer man than before, I shall want to remember this journey.